You look very, very. Oh, there's the smile. Here we are. We are in the parking lot of Portillo's, the one in Willowbrook. That's hockey player Brent Sopel. You may remember him from the team that won the freaking Stanley Cup in 2009.
That's a long time ago. You might not remember me, but
oh no, we'll never forget. That was a drought ender. That was a big deal. But it's Car Code Carne, presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston, 1015 Chicago Avenue. I've been driving a CX-9, a Mazda CX-9 lately. Super powerful ride, more torque than the Infiniti QX60 and Acura MDX. And this month, November, the Autobarn's offering financing as low as 1.9% for 60 months on select Mazda models, up to $2,000 customer cash. So before you hit the road for Thanksgiving, or maybe after Thanksgiving's over and you feel like you need a treat after dealing with the family, go to the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. Brent Sopel, are you ready to eat sausage and talk hockey?
Let's do this.
Okay, let's do this. So there's so much to cover with you. Let's start with the news. Was Coach Q scapegoated?
Coach Q will go down as, he'll be in the Illinois Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And what he did for the city, 3 Stanley Cups in 8 years. It's amazing. There's teams that, the St. Louis Blues have never won a Stanley Cup. And, obviously the Chicago Blackhawks fans know St. Louis, but I feel awful. I think that Joel should have finished out the year and then reassess what what ownership and management wanted to do from there. I think he deserved it. He owned it. But on that being said, I know the young kid Jeremy coming in. I feel terrible for him. He's coming into a tough situation at the ripe age of 33.
What was the thing you learned that had the greatest impact from Coach Q? Like, what stayed with you from playing on the Hawks?
The respect level that Joel had for everybody. Joel gave us our space. The dressing room was our place. He didn't come in there, but he could manage personalities better than any coach. I've started skating when I was 2. Played a lot of hockey. Had a lot of coaches, good and bad, but he could manage personalities. There's some guys where you have to pull them aside and just say, hey, I need more out of you, or I need this, and this, or some guys you had to get in their face, and there's some guys you had to call out the media. But he could manage those personalities, and he got the most out of the players by doing that. And as you can see, obviously 3 Stanley Cups is no joke.
So it's hard to talk about your hockey career without talking about what's come to light recently. Dyslexia.
Yep.
You've started a foundation, the Brent Sopel Foundation. This is a stunning number. 1 in 6 people have dyslexia.
Yeah.
That seems way higher than I ever would have imagined.
It's and that's crazy. I start talking to people. Every 1 in 2 people are going to get cancer. Well, next in line is dyslexia. It's staggering. The second point, it's hereditary. So it's not going anywhere. There's no cure that can be. We're born with it. That's the way we're wired. And you take a look at, your kids. If you got kids in the classroom, there's, between 20 and 30 kids in each classroom. Take 20% of those kids that have it. It is a staggering number, and nobody talks about it. I always use autism. Everybody knows what autism is, and I think it's 1 in 60 or 1 in 65. Compare that to the 1 in 5, the 1 in 6 of dyslexia. It's mind blowing, and people have no idea how debilitating dyslexia is.
And that's why I bring it up. I mean, I want to talk about the foundation, but specific to you as a hockey player, you didn't realize at your NHL peak that you had dyslexia, and it was something that it affected your self-perception and your self-esteem.
Oh yeah, and that is the biggest thing is self-esteem. My self-esteem on that side of the world. Obviously I played hockey, I won a Stanley Cup. That's a different view, but inside me, and that self-esteem of being able to be like everybody else and read a book and write emails really well and be able to sound words out. My self-esteem is very low when it comes to that, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I started this foundation, because I never want another kid to feel the way I do. And teachers calling you stupid or lazy because you're not working and you can't get it, so they think that you're just messing around. And I had somebody reach out to me the other day, and his third grade teacher put him in the hallway all year long. So this poor kid sat in the hallway all year long because the teacher thought he was just messing around with was joking.
So it was undiagnosed, as it was for
Correct.
you for many years.
But, so this guy's, still scarred as I am, going through that. So, it's a long process to really get the word out there of, what this is and the severity. And, I think we were talking off air, the study that I read, we figure about 50% of the prisoners in the world have dyslexia.
50%. So, talking about self-esteem and playing hockey, since you were diagnosed after you won the Cup, I mean, back then when you won the Stanley Cup, I mean, did you have those issues then? Because, looking on the outside, it's like, holy shit, Brent Sopel, he'll defend anybody. He won the freaking Cup. I mean, that's how you felt under the uniform.
And I've learned a lot through my struggles, and ended up in rehab, and getting sober. This world is not a friendly place. It's not easy.
See, and we're talking about so much here. It's a lot to unpack, because you just talked about sobriety. You became an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And was that, I've got to assume there was a cause and effect. The debilitating nature, the awful feelings of dyslexia led to you just kind of numbing yourself.
Yeah, like I was just saying, the world's not a friendly place, and we all go through something. We're all dealing with something, and I've learned that I'm not in anybody else's shoes but mine. Just like nobody's been in my shoes. And you talk about the prisoners and the alcoholics. You want to numb yourself, because when you're told you're only dumb and you're stupid for so long, guess what? You start believing that, and your days aren't happy. So you start drinking, and you're doing drugs or whatever that is to escape that feeling. And, like I said, I was drinking. I'm like, awesome. I felt good because I didn't have to think about that.
In season, you were...
Yeah, so I've been drinking for a long, long time. And, obviously got really bad when hockey ended, because here I am trying to leave the game that I played for 40 years, my whole life.
It defined who you were publicly.
Yep. And because I didn't do well in school, because I probably haven't got an education past grade 8, because my stepmom did a lot of my homework, and teachers just passed me. When you can't read, it's pretty tough to pass any classes. So now here I'm entering the real world. No education, no college degree, no experience, and nobody's going to hire me. And I've had a lot of rejections in the last 3 years when it comes to work with all that. So, you start drinking, getting away the pain, of all this. And when you're not drinking, or when you're drinking, you don't think of that. Obviously, you sober up, and then you start thinking about that. Guess what? Then you start thinking about it. So, it was a vicious circle. I had some friends that stepped up and did an intervention, and put me in rehab, which was changed.
One of those things where you suddenly walk in a room and
wow. just like the TV show, and had no idea it was coming, but it was the best thing for me. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them, because I was going down a very slippery slope, and I definitely wouldn't be here. I'm sober over 2 years, and
congratulations.
I appreciate that, and they saved my life, but I've learned a lot in these past 2 years, and scratching the surface on dyslexia. And like I said, it's everywhere, and I don't want another kid to feel the way I do.
Amazing. And we kind of touched on this, but you never realize the shit someone else is going through.
No, and that it took. I always just actually I was talking to a buddy of mine today. When somebody cuts you off, and I don't honk my horn very often at anybody. I don't know what they're going through. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're running to the hospital. I don't know if they're late. That's just me trying to put myself in somebody else's shoe. I'm not there. So, I've learned a lot through. I've had a lot of ups and downs, and my fiance has been the most amazing person in the world, and she's pulled me out of some dark days, and if it wasn't for her, where I would be today, I don't know. I owe her my life, and It's some days I don't know how she puts up with me.
So going back to that Stanley Cup win, Kane scores the goal.
Yeah.
The entire city erupts. Philadelphia erupts in an angry way. People everywhere are blown away.
Yeah.
You weren't able to truly enjoy it.
You know what? It was a childhood dream, and I knew that was going to be my my one and only shot to win it. And thank God that puck, went in. I think if you watch the tape, I was the last guy to get off the bench because I was so afraid that puck didn't go in, and we continued playing, and wouldn't end up winning. So I got on the ice really slow, and wasn't going to celebrate until we find out. But at the end of the day, it was a childhood dream. We won it. That side of me was fulfilled. But there's a whole different side of me that has never been fulfilled for years and years.
This is tough to hear. I mean, I'm glad you're where you're at now, but this is tough. You've had a hell of a journey.
Yeah, I have, and I'm not good. And the reason why, I'm being very candid with where I am today is because, like I said, I don't want another kid to feel the way I do. And when you talk about 20% of the population has dyslexia, I guarantee right now there's a kid laying in bed or, go walking to school, somewhere that doesn't want to be there, doesn't feel good about themselves, depression setting in, and it just, it sickens me. Like when I read that guy who's reached out to me that he sat outside in the hallway for his whole third grade class, just my heart, sunk, and it just made me sick. And I know I'm not the only one. This isn't a pity party for me. This has nothing to do with me. It's the future. It's those kids. And
well, it's your empathy for other people.
I've got kids, and at the end of the day, I don't care if Republican, Democrat. Everybody talks about that stuff. No, those kids are our future, and we're not taking care of them.
Well, and you learned, you figured out that you had dyslexia because your daughter was diagnosed.
Correct. Yep.
And all of a sudden, as the symptoms are being checked off, the light bulb went on over your head, like, oh my God.
And it's we don't know what the exact percentage of people find out the exact same way, but it's staggering. I've had, because it's hereditary, and that's what a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people in the same situation as me struggle. I talk to a lot of fathers and mothers, and they say the same thing, and they're like, well, didn't know, but we're going through the tests, and it was like, okay, there I am, that's me, and you get a little bit of a weight, lifted off your shoulder, meaning, okay, there was something there. I wasn't that dumb, that wasn't that stupid, but still, it doesn't take away from the scars of all those years of childhood.
I get that. So we're watching. If you're watching on Facebook Live, that's Mike in the back seat. Mutual friend. He's hanging out in case people are wondering.
Yeah, security guard.
Yeah. What's the dude with the Blackhawks hat doing back there?
And the Cubs. Come on, put it away.
Yeah,
put it away. It's not baseball season.
That's right. And thank you if you are watching for not watching the Bears as this is going on. That's a noble sacrifice. We do appreciate.
Football. The Hawks are playing though.
How cold is it outside? I can't
it's
imagine.
Not cold.
Oh, well, you're from Canada.
Yeah.
Who am I talking to? All right, so we are going to stop the Facebook Live. This conversation will continue on Carco and Carney. You can get it on iTunes and Stitcher, carcoandcarney.com, Google Podcasts. But thank you for watching on Facebook Live. Watch for the podcast coming soon.
Thank you, guys.
Brent Sopel. You got to eat your sausage, too.
I'm going to dive right into it.
Italian sausages. I'm being a really crappy host. So thank you for watching. Brent, you're amazing.
Thank you.